Welcome, everyone. My name is Ian Gray, and I am your worship associate for the month of August. Again, welcome, everyone. Whoever you are, from wherever you are coming from this morning, and wherever you may be carrying with you, know that you are always welcome here. We come here each walking our own winding path through the world, but knowing that these paths do not exist entirely on their own. They cross and converge, shaped by the same weather, through dry seasons and sudden rains, pushed and shaped by forces largely outside our own control. And yet, in this moment, they have brought us here together. So, as we gather this morning in person or online, whether you are joining us for the first time or for the countless time, whether you are here with us now or you are encountering this service sometime in the future, long after this day has passed, we consider what it means to live in an interconnected world this morning. May this be a place where we can listen deeply, encourage one another with curiosity and compassion, and remember that none of us move through this world alone. I am so glad that you are all here this morning. Please rise in body and or spirit as we light our chalice, the symbol of our gathering together, and please join us in reciting our covenant. Because we love one another, we honor each individual's spiritual journey. We celebrate life's abundance in service to each other, our community, and the world. We connect with each other in love, respect, and acceptance. Thus do we covenant together. For the opening words, we have a commentary from Dr. Natalie Brennett on the words of Audre Lorde. We do not live single-issue lives. In a talk delivered at Harvard University for Black History Month in 1982, Audre Lorde noted, "There is no such thing as a single-issue struggle because we do not live single-issue lives." From Learning from the 60s, Sister Outsider 138. She was reminding the students in the audience about a few things, not least of which was that we need to tell the history of struggles for justice and liberation in complex ways. She continued, "Each one of us here is a link in the connection between anti-poor legislation, gay shootings, the burning of synagogues, street harassment, attacks against women, and the resurgent violence against women. Building effective coalitions to fight the multiple injustices requires that we commit ourselves to some future that can include each other and to work towards that future with the particular strengths of our individual identities. Defining a just future takes all of us and requires that all of us be allowed to participate." Those words were picked for specifically our speaker this morning, who I am very happy to introduce as the soon-to-be Reverend Bis Thornton, an Austin-based candidate Unitarian Universalist minister and chaplain at Wildflower UU, whose ministry centers creativity and storytelling as tools for healing, transformation, and justice. Bis recently served as interim minister of the Texas Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry, or the TXUUJM, which was mentioned earlier. A statewide ministry that brings together UUs, congregations, and community partners to put our values into action in the public square, organizing and advocating for justice and public policy all across the state of Texas. This morning, this joins us in exploring one of those values, interdependence, and what it asks for us when both the beauty and the harms of the world are bound together. Please join me in welcoming to the stage, soon to be Reverend Bis Thornton.
I love the woo. Y'all are fun. In Albuquerque, New Mexico, monsoon season is in the summertime. In the desert, the night is cold, but as soon as the sun rises in the clear blue desert sky, it blasts the land with heat. The earth becomes hotter and hotter, and heat rises off of it and begins pushing the wind around. A swirling area of high pressure develops, and wet air is pulled into the desert from both the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf. Water crashes down in enormous storms, and the dry land is unable to hold all of that rain. Arroyos and streets flood, but the water is needed where the land can receive it. The idea that there would be a monsoon season in the desert surprises many people. The desert is a friend you have to meet to understand. In the desert, I encountered rain, snow, and all kinds of life. It's not a barren wasteland. It's not the way you might imagine it to be. Life and death, abundance and lack, it all coexists. Almost 11 years ago, I got married in New Mexico. At that time, my spouse and I were not able to get married in our home state of Texas, but we had lived in New Mexico for many years together, and so it seemed only natural to get married there. We were married on a lavender farm. My brother-in-law officiated the wedding for us. It's still very beautiful in my mind. I remember waiting for the ceremony to begin and waiting for my turn to walk down the aisle, as it were. We got married outdoors, so the aisle was like a grassy path between a bunch of chairs. My fiance was waiting for me down there. At my wedding, I wore a dress to the ceremony and a suit to the reception. So I was standing there in my big white dress. I bought it from, the top part was from H&M. I probably spent $25 on my wedding dress, except for the tulle part that was super big that I spent like $300 on from Etsy. So I'm standing there in this like little amalgamated dress, wearing black flip-flops underneath. I had fussed over what shoes to wear for a really long time, and nothing was really speaking to me. I had all these visions of like some more like strappy or like gladiator sandals or something. I never found anything I liked. Flip-flops were fine. No one could see them because I had the giant dress on. It doesn't matter. And then it was my turn to walk out. Suddenly, I was gripped by an unknown impulse. I kicked off my shoes and I left them on the floor and started to walk out into the grass. And the wedding coordinator looked at me as I walked out and she said, "No shoes?" And I said, "No shoes." And because she's good at her job, she said, "Great choice." And then I just walked on out. I remember the earth on my feet. Every blade of grass was my friend carrying me to my beloved. After the wedding, my heart was bursting with joy, and I was so happy that after the service, I just ran off into the fields with my brand new spouse to get our photos taken. And it was only when I realized that there are all these sticks and burrs stuck to my dress that I realized I never put my shoes back on. I love New Mexico. I love the desert. I love weddings. 2 years ago, I took a trip to Spain. I walked over 150 miles of the Camino de Santiago, a religious pilgrimage to the cathedral in a city called Santiago. My group and I walked from the south of France over the Pyrenees Mountains and across quite a bit of the north of Spain. I remember cypress trees, rocks beneath my booted feet, the taste of an espresso greeting me in the morning and in the afternoon, and as many times as I wanted to. I had a lot of espresso. The relief of a meal, endless woods opening suddenly to a field of grass waving like the sea, the feeling of KT tape on my knees for the first time. That stuff works. I learned that in Spain. I remember watching the back of a friend's head for miles. I remember mist settling over us in the morning and then lifting away as the sun rose and the air warmed. I remember sitting on a stone, looking at the orange earth, knowing that exhaustion couldn't matter because my bed was 8 miles away. How could I do anything but speak with God under those circumstances? When we arrived in Santiago, the bustling city overwhelmed me. It flowed with streams of pilgrims arriving and celebrating and then departing again. In that moment, it was my turn to arrive. We neared the cathedral at the center of the city, heading towards the square, the true finale of the pilgrimage. My heart was pounding out of my chest. Spanish bagpipes cried out louder than anything I could imagine. This was it. I felt like I had kicked off my shoes and stepped into the grass. I felt like I was getting married. Something seized my entire spirit, and I reached out ignorantly into the crowd for anyone. I grabbed somebody's arm and burst into tears, just like I had cried all the way through my own vows. Eventually, I turned and saw through my bleary eyes that I was arm in arm with a friend that I knew, thank goodness, and we were both crying and laughing and staggering into the square together. I was running through the lavender fields again with my beloved, flying across the ground in my bare feet, unable to feel anything at all. A strange, somber, transformed version of this memory returned to me earlier this year as I walked with a crowd from the center of Dilley, Texas, towards the family detention center down the road. That day, too, my friend whose arm I had grabbed was walking right beside me. That day, too, every step was a prayer as I held a rosary between my hands, just like in Spain. And under the clear blue sky with nothing between us and the sunbeams, as the orange dust of the earth swept around our legs, I felt homesick for my beloved desert, my beloved New Mexico. When the tear gas came, I feared for the people, and I feared for the earth, and I feared for the sky, and we all absorbed these choking chemicals together. Would this poison fog rise up and join the clouds above, carried who knows where? Would the plants grow pale and dry from the ground after this? Would the families in the detention center far past the gate begin to cough just like us? As Unitarian Universalists, we believe many things, we practice many things, but we hold some things in common. Justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity with love at the center. Our Unitarian Universalist Association describes our relationship to interdependence like this. We honor the interdependent web of all existence and acknowledge our place in it. I don't believe, so it's like we refer to it as a value, right? But I don't believe that interdependence is something exactly that we can strive for. I think it's an aspect of existence which we can choose to acknowledge. To forget that, to forget this interdependent web, is to live inside of an illusion. And if we treat interdependence as something we're trying to do, we risk thinking of interdependence as something like teamwork. And teamwork is good. I think we could all use a little more togetherness. I feel like every worship service on a Sunday morning is a testament to the power of teamwork. We could use more of it in our lives, but I believe interdependence is something a little bit different than that. So the New Mexico monsoon season is affected by many variables. At this time, because it's so complicated, it's unclear exactly how climate change is affecting it. But previously predictable weather patterns like El Nino are changing. And so this year, we don't really know what it will bring, although we're finding out right now. But what we do know is that climate change is making the weather hotter, which is making the land drier when it gets hot, which is making the flooding more catastrophic because very, very dry land cannot receive the water all of a sudden like that. The water just stays on top. It can't soak down if it's too much of it. And when it stays on top, it floods and floods and floods and floods. And if the water doesn't come, there will be minimal relief from the fire season that comes just before monsoon season in the spring. And sometimes you get both. In last year's monsoon season, there was lower rainfall than usual, but there was still really severe flooding across areas where there had been recent wildfires anyway. So sometimes you get both problems. And this, too, is interdependence at play. Even that which causes suffering is a part of the web of all existence. And we see it all around us every day. The horrors of places like the Family Detention Center outside of Dili are disturbing. They are shocking, depressing, enraging, unique in their circumstances. The starvation, rampant illness, the inherent horror of keeping human beings in cages at all. We should never harden our hearts against this horror or become numb to its reality. But it would be inaccurate to say that this is unprecedented. The Texas UU Justice Ministry recently partnered with Free Families, Grassroots Leadership, and Suitor for Solidarity to take part in a 45-mile walking pilgrimage from Crystal City to Dili. Crystal City was the site of another family detention center, but it was built in 1943 during World War II, and like many detention centers across the country at the time, it imprisoned, among others, many people of Japanese descent. The recent pilgrimage was blessed by the presence of elders who had survived the internment camp at Crystal City when they were children. The United States did not invent this tactic in the 40s either, of course. How long has this country relied upon stealing children and separating families? What else was the purpose of the so-called Indian schools? How often were entire families enslaved and broken apart from one another? How many people have been prevented from understanding their ancestry because their families are treated like objects or shameful secrets or something to be eradicated? I once heard the Reverend Dr. Stephen Ray say that marginalized children are targeted by hate groups for two reasons. The first one is that it teaches children that the adults around them cannot protect them. And the second thing is that it teaches adults that they cannot protect children. And this shatters communities. The effects are complex, interrelated, generational, and heartbreaking. It reminds me of the desert sky, troubled by rain, troubled by climate change. I see the wind patterns across the oceans becoming erratic. I see dry ground unable to accept water. I see wildfires spreading without relief. And this too is interdependence. This too is the interdependent web of all existence. Violence can beget violence by training new generations to fear, to harm, to distrust, to hate. The history of this country will continue if nothing changes. There will be new cages, and we will, unfortunately, continue to live in completely precedented times. And I call it that because I hear people saying that these are unprecedented times a lot. I think these times want us to think that they're unprecedented, you know? Because I think that creates an illusion. It doesn't actually destroy interdependence because that's like the nature of reality. It's like an aspect of existence at all. But it makes us unable to feel its presence. If we think these times are unprecedented, the web sort of goes away. We can't sense it anymore, and we forget the past. But some people remember. The internment camp survivors who made the pilgrimage from Crystal City to Dili remember. In seeing their own lives and the lives of the children held in Dili today, in fighting for them in the greater context of repeated violence across history, in demanding that we never again treat another human being this way, they reveal the web, and the illusion is shattered. And I find that the more and more that the web is revealed, the more and more I see the joy and sorrow are intertwined. So the first time I ever spent much time at the Texas State Legislature, although I've been there quite a bit since then, it was because of an anti-trans bill, and I'm going to be so honest with y'all, I don't remember which one it was. There had been too many. I don't remember which one we were there to fight against. They all kind of blend together sometimes. Talk about precedented suffering. But anyway, if you're watching bill hearings, perhaps any of y'all may have been there once before, you end up in these overflow rooms full of people sitting around and watching the hearing on a big TV. And that's where I was. I was sitting in an uncomfortable seat, surrounded mostly by strangers, feeling nervous because I did not fully understand the Texas legislature or what it would take to stop this bill, whichever one it was. The people on the screen were saying hateful things. I was sick to my stomach. I felt like they were talking about me and the people that I loved the most in my life. I felt completely adrift and completely alone. And then I heard someone laughing. And I looked up. I turned my head. I can still see this in my mind. It's sort of brilliant in my memory. A few seats away, I saw a group of people talking. One woman in the middle of the group was gesturing and muttering to the group of people around her, who would regularly burst into laughter all of a sudden. The woman's voice raised a little, and I realized what was going on. She was making jokes about all the horrible things that people were saying. She was heckling the hearing. It was wonderful. Her jokes and laughter were infectious. As others started to hear her commentary, laughter began bubbling up all around me. I felt a lightness settle over the room. Even in my memory, I can see them. I turn my head, and there's a big window behind them, and this group of people are illuminated by this brilliant light, and I felt like it just came across the whole room. I would later realize that the woman in the middle who was talking and joking and heckling was the Reverend Remington Johnson, a trans minister and an ICU nurse. So as you can imagine, she's very good in a crisis. In the midst of that suffering and tension, she brought laughter. She made me feel like we would all survive the day, no matter what the outcome of that hearing might be. She made me feel like those who hated me would not have the last word. The fear and the joy wove together to create something new, something more than survival, something like love. The clouds are gathering. The desert is bright with lightning. The rain comes from the Pacific Ocean and the Gulf all at once. The weather patterns affect the growth of lavender on the farm where I got married. The sun rises over a cathedral in Spain where pilgrims still come and go, weeping and holding one another and reenacting a mirror image of my wedding in the desert. And somewhere in this wide world of beauty and terror, someone is weaving together sorrow and joy into something new. Compassion is being born. The rain is coming, for better or worse, for good and for ill. I don't know what else to say except that you are not alone. Thank you.
To be hopeless would seem so strange. It dishonors those to the light of change. I am open and I am.
Our closing words are from Rithold McDaniels, from Being Liberal in an Illiberal Age, Why I Am a Unitarian Universalist. Go forth, because we are always going forth from somewhere. Going from our homes, our childhoods, going from our cities and countries, going from innocence to experience to enlightenment. Going into mystery and questions, going into the desert, getting to the other side. Go forth, leave behind the comfort and community of one place. Head into the anxiety and loneliness of another. Carry with you the love and the laughter of this place, and let it light your way. Carry with you the wisdom you learned and the good memories. May they give you strength for your journey. And when you have been away long enough, far enough, done what you set off to do, be there so long, that place too shall feel like home. Come back to the one universal, everywhere, and every when, and every one inclusive home. This beloved community of all creation that you can never really leave. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.